If the thought of retirement fills you with uncertainty, anxiety, or even fear, you're not alone. In over 3 decades of working with individuals and couples preparing for retirement, I've seen these emotions show up time and time again. But here's the real truth. With the right plan, tools, and mindset, you can transform your fear into freedom and create a financially secure life you love. And that's what we're diving into today. Hi, I'm Annette Bau, host of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast and founder of the Millionaire Insider. My mission is to help you simplify the money game so you can create a financially secure and fulfilled life without having to have a PhD or spend countless hours on your finances. You're going to learn how to think like a millionaire, stop worrying about money and wondering if your financial house is truly in order, and instead spend your time doing what you love. With over 3 decades advising 7, 8, and even 9-figure millionaires, and now joining that elite group, I'm in a unique position to help you make the best financial choices so you can create a secure financial future and retirement you love. This is the Wealth Inside and Out podcast. Today's free resource is our residual income guide. You can go to themillionaireinsider.com/RIG. The biggest fear for most people is the fear of running out of money. A solid plan with residual and passive income, really total return, is the key. And that will help to not only alleviate your fears, but know what you need to do to make sure that your dreams become a reality and stay a reality. The beauty of passive income is you do the work, as in residual income, and then you get money. With passive, you have a lump sum amount of money, you give it to the insurance company, and then they pay you, or your employer does, which isn't as common, or Social Security. So it's money that comes in every single month, and you know you can count on it. Now that a lot of people don't have pensions, most people don't. We saw that, years ago, but not so much now. There's one less source of it. Social Security is clearly on the chopping block. So the real only option is for you to create your own sources of passive and residual income. And you can do that, as I mentioned, either through an annuity, which is one of my favorite just because it's guaranteed. You can also do it through dividend stocks, but then you have to be careful because it's really not guaranteed in the sense that if it drops, you're going to have to figure out how to take less money out, or real estate or different options. So the key is just learning what your options are and then creating a plan that works for you. And this guide will help you. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/RIG. For today's show notes, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/116. Millionaireseries.com copyrights all materials and intellectual property. This information is for educational purposes only. It is not intended to replace any advisor or specialist or to provide any investment, financial, tax, retirement planning, or healthcare advice. By accessing this content, you agree to hold millionaireseries.com and its affiliates harmless for results achieved or not achieved. So let's dive into the 5 steps to overcome your fear of retirement. Now, one of the things I want to just say, I was talking to a very successful attorney up in the mountains where our second home is, and he said, anyone that's not concerned about retirement, not concerned about running out of money, is not in touch with reality. And I thought that was really interesting because obviously he's very successful. He's got money. But I think there's some truth to that. And so what I want to dive into today is really giving you some insight of what you need to do so that you can ensure you have enough money and that it is reality. Because I think there are some people who are not in touch with reality. I'm going to dive more into that in just a minute. But let's talk about what's really behind the fear. Retirement is probably the biggest transition we go through, if not the biggest, one of the biggest. And like any major change, it can surface hidden insecurities and unknowns because we don't know for sure what's going to happen. And now all of a sudden, we don't have that monthly paycheck coming in. Common examples of what causes some of this fear and anxiety for many people is that they're just ignoring their finances. They're just hoping they're going to be okay. Or they're hoping their partner has done a good enough job to make sure they're okay. Saying they want to enjoy their life now is another common scenario I see. Well, of course you want to enjoy your life now, but don't you want to enjoy it now and in the future? People that are just focused in on enjoying it right now are many of the people who are going to really be paying the price later on. Whereas if you have a plan to enjoy your life now and in the future, that is ideal. And then the third reason I see is lack of financial literacy from just ignoring your money, which we talked about in the first one, or overanalyzing it. It's just that overwhelm of not really knowing what to do. One of the things that I find so interesting is that there's a segment of my profession that really makes money super hard. And it's kind of like, I'm not saying that there aren't complex aspects of it, clearly, but the reality of it is the big picture, what you need to do: spend less, save and invest more, pay attention, make sure you have an overall plan. Many of those things are simple and they just require a little bit of help if you're not really knowledgeable, but it's doable. So I encourage you to really make a commitment to create the plan you need so that you don't have to worry about money now or ever. So let's look at 5 common reasons or fears that impact fear of retirement. One is running out of money. That is probably the most common. A lot of people ask, will my savings last? What if I live beyond my life expectancy? That is your biggest risk, in my opinion. What if the market crashes? Am I prepared for rising healthcare costs and inflation? Now, what's going on economically right now, as many of you may or may not know, is they've just have a judge that said that the President Trump has overreached his authority on tariffs. So they're pulling them back. They say they need congressional approval. And yet, the sad thing for all of us is the fact that prices have already gone up in many industries and on many products in anticipation of the tariffs. And what's so frustrating is that those aren't going to come down. And so you start looking at the cost of goods, and anyone that's not concerned about it needs to be. It's very concerning. I even see people who have a lot of money who are concerned. So we got to be paying attention to that. A big part of this fear is not knowing your income sources, meaning when you wonder if you're going to have enough money, how much money do you have that's going to come in from Social Security, from pensions, from investments, from real estate, from annuities? Is it enough? And then the other factor is how you're spending your money. Are you overspending? One of the things I like to see and that I really encourage you to do is to have enough guaranteed income. And the guaranteed income should cover your need-based expenses, what you need for housing, bottom line, not what you want, what you need, utilities, taxes, insurance, things such as that. That is what should be covered by guaranteed money. Now, some people want to have more guaranteed money than that. I get it. I'm probably fall in that category. But others say, okay, as long as those needs are covered, then everything else can be for your wants. And that, my friends, is the key. Now, the other thing I want to encourage you to do before you get into any type of guaranteed income, always make sure you're using a fiduciary so that they can help you create and implement your financial, your tax retirement plan, and they have an obligation to do what's in your best interest, not theirs or their company's. All right, the second thing that occurs is a loss of identity or purpose. Many people are defined by their careers. And then their job ends and they're asking, who am I? That sudden shift from a structured role to literally a blank state can feel disorienting and even trigger health issues. There used to be a term that I would hear sometimes called the retirement heart attack. And I read this article of all these people when they retired, how many had heart attacks. They'd been really successful in their career. And then all of a sudden they were retired doing nothing and they had a heart attack. So we got to be paying attention to those things because they can impact not only our mental health, but our physical health, everything. Boredom and loneliness. Without daily routines, deadlines, or coworkers, some retirees feel adrift and isolated. If your social life is tied to your work life, it can be a tough transition. Boredom and loneliness can lead to success or failure in retirement. Some people end up majoring in drinking more, eating more, while others focus on getting in shape and building deeper relationships. Now, one of the things I've shared, our second home is got a country club, and it just so happens that one of my really good friends' husband is a really good golfer, and so they have a lot of experiences going around to different country clubs. And they said, we will never live on a country club because what people do is they go golf, they go home, take a nap, and then they meet at the country club and start drinking at about 4. I was talking to another person who had a home up where ours is, and said their parents actually sold because when they retired, they said just everyone was drinking. So we have made a conscious effort to make sure that's not part of our daily routine because it's just easy. You're down at the club or you're at somebody's house and the first thing you do is have a drink. So you just got to be aware of that because when you're not aware of it, you think, oh, okay, well, I don't have a drinking problem, but I have a drink here, I have a drink there. The issue is alcohol in moderation probably is not a problem. Now, a lot of the research recently is showing it's more and more of a problem, especially for women. So we just got to be aware of that. You've simply got to take the time to determine where you want to put your focus and how you're going to spend your time. And you want to do this before you retire. The fourth reason is declining health. Physical and mental health concerns often arise when there's less structure and fewer built-in wellness habits from working years, meaning you have to be on a routine. It's very structured. Plus, the lack of employer-sponsored benefits and the rising cost of healthcare and insurance can feel very unsettling. I get it. Number 5, the fear of the unknown. You go from decades of routine and structure knowing exactly what's going to happen, and all of a sudden now you're thrown into this whole new world. It can be overwhelming. Without a to-do list, some retirees simply don't know where to begin. These are such important considerations before you give your notice or before you officially retire if you're an entrepreneur. So something to think about. All right, so how to move past the fear and into freedom. Fear is natural, and as the attorney said, it'd be abnormal not to have it, but it doesn't have to be the entire focus or lead your life or your future. These 5 strategies are going to help you gain clarity and confidence in the next chapter of your life when you do decide to retire. So number 1, you got to create a comprehensive retirement plan and really a financial plan, and you need to do it long before you retire. A lot of people wait until, okay, now I'm retired, now I need one. No, you needed one 20 or 30 years ago. In fact, I have a situation right now where the people are retired. Had they met with me 30 years ago, they would be living their golden years. They're living their miserable years. It is so depressing. Every time I meet with them, I get depressed because it's like they don't have money and they are running out of money, and it's a train wreck that's going to happen. And if they would have just done something earlier, it would be completely different. But you got to start with the numbers, but you don't stop there, but start there. Map out your income sources. What are you going to have from Social Security, pensions, investments, annuities, real estate, part-time job? And I realize on investments, you don't always know, but you can at least gauge a percentage you're going to take out. And then what you got to do, the reason I love guaranteed income is because when you have a down year, you got a problem. Because when you start looking at those numbers, it's a serious problem. And so you've got to have a plan that on the years when the market doesn't do well, you're going to take out significantly less or none. And some people can't do that. And that's why you need guaranteed income. You want to build a spending plan that aligns with your lifestyle and really look at the things you enjoy doing. As I share with you, when I didn't have money, I couldn't wait until I did so I could be traveling and doing all these things. Now I get my joy out of hiking, out of doing yoga, meditation, things that really don't cost any money. They don't have to cost money. I don't have to go to a gym. I do yoga on my own in the mornings. I meditate on my own. I do some workshops, but those are optional. The key, my friends, is making sure that you've got a money plan and that it's aligned with your lifestyle. And a belief that you would have a great life if you could be traveling is just a fallacy. It's not true. Now, you may want that. That's fine. But that should not dictate the quality of your life or how you feel. I hope you get that, because I think a lot of times when you don't have something, and I get it, I was there, you think, oh, if I could just travel. I'm like, oh my gosh, do I have to take another trip? And then I hear about all these planes like wrecking, and they're talking now about I can't communicate. Oh my God, I don't need to hear that. So I just flew, and I was like, oh my God. And of course, I'm in the second seat, so I can open the window, and the guy next to me is sleeping. And I wanted to say, could you open the window so I can watch for other planes? But anyway, it's just something to be aware of and something to really be conscious of, to know that you can enjoy your life without all those things. I share with you as I'm smelling my jasmine flower. Oh my gosh, I love jasmine flowers. When I go for a walk, that is literally the highlight of my morning. They smell so good. I just feel instantly calm. I encourage you to look for those simple things that don't cost money, but really do make you feel the way you want to feel. And that's critical is feeling. How do you want to feel when you have the money? Because what most people aren't talking about is how critical that is. When you are clear on how you want to feel and you start practicing it now, that's what allows you to really enjoy your life once you have money. And you look at so many people who have money who are just miserable. It's because they've never learned how to manage their emotions. And it is so critical. All right, you also want to include a strategy for healthcare and long-term care. And that's typically a combination of insurance as well as lifestyle, making sure you're staying healthy. Knowing where you stand financially is the first step to replacing fear with peace of mind and just gratitude and calm and all those positive emotions that most of us want. All right, number 2, you want to redefine what retirement means. Retirement isn't the end. It's a reinvention or even a time to explore new purposes, new areas of interest, things you've always wanted to do on that bucket list. I encourage you to start a passion project or even a small business. Another option is you want to travel. Maybe you want to move to another country. I mean, I would love to do that. Now, we do own a home outside the United States, but I think that if we did move somewhere, I don't know, my husband's like, why would we buy something? And I'm like, okay, well, maybe we wouldn't. But I wouldn't even mind buying land, but I do want an ocean view. So we have to look at all those things. But I just think that would be so fun to do. And it wouldn't be all the time, but maybe you go over 1 month a quarter or something like that. Another possibility is volunteering or mentoring other people, learning something new or revisiting old hobbies. Now, this is a chance to design a life with purpose, fulfillment, and freedom. Ooh, just sounds so fun. Number 3, build a new daily rhythm. Even a loose routine helps you create purpose. Set time aside for exercise, social connections, hobbies, and growth. At our club, they have a group called the Aurora Group, and those people are very active. Many of them have their membership paid by Medicare, which is possibly going to change with all the cuts, but they get together for coffee. They are always working out. You can just see they all know each other. They're all friends. It's awesome. And I think all of us need those kind of connections, especially if we don't have it through our job and our clients and our coworkers. You want to anchor your days around activities that bring you energy and joy. Structure brings momentum, and that's the key to staying engaged and vibrant. I share with you, I have really deepened my meditation practice, and it's changed my life. I was feeling so anxious at the beginning of the year. And then just listening to all these cuts and everything that's happening with Medicaid and even Medicare. I mean, I have clients whose prescription drugs have doubled. Their amount of money they're getting on Social Security has decreased because their Medicare coverage has increased. I mean, it's just depressing. And it's like, it's not going to get better. It's very unlikely it's going to go down. And it worries me. That said, meditation has helped me to cope with it so much more. And so I encourage you to entertain whatever you need to do to really live the life you want to live. All right, number 4, invest in your health. Your wealth means nothing without your health. I share with you, people have an emergency medical team out in the parking lot. So in case they have a stroke or heart attack, they can be taken to the hospital. It is so nerve-wracking and depressing. Nothing fun about it. You want to prioritize regular movement and nutritional food and make sure it's truly nutritional. The nutrition of the 1950s, 60s, 70s, and even 80s is not what it is today. Fat is good for you. Healthy fat, avocado, olive oil, basil seeds, flax seeds, a lot of things, different nuts, all those things are good, as is a low-carb, no-sugar diet, as is lean proteins, non-starchy vegetables, all those things. You want to engage your mind with reading, classes, or even brain games. Stay connected with a supportive community that aligns with your values. Consider mindfulness, meditation, yoga, therapy, or coaching. All those things can be so helpful. You've worked hard to create a secure financial future. Now you've got to invest in the mental and physical energy to enjoy it. And ideally, you're doing that along the way. I love working with somebody in like they're 45 to 55, because if I can get them on track there, and let's say they've already been doing some things, it's amazing what can happen in their retirement. The problem is when you work with somebody who's in their 60s or 70s, sometimes it's difficult. And so you just got to be aware of it. Now, if you've got money and you've put money away, it's a different story. But a lot of people don't. And then all of a sudden they're like, well, we want to retire next year, but we haven't saved any money. I'm like, that's a problem. All right, number 5, talk about it. You don't have to navigate this new territory alone. And you don't want to wait until you're depressed or anxious or feel like you need to be on medication to get the support you need. A certified financial planner, qualified therapist, or even a retirement coach can help you unpack the emotional and practical sides of this transition. Sometimes a single conversation is the start in a new direction. Let's look at some final thoughts. The fear of retirement is real and it is normal, but the fear is just a signal that it's time for a new strategy. With the right plan, clarity of purpose, and supportive conversations, retirement can become the most fulfilling chapter of your life. So let that be your reality, my friend. All right, let's recap really quickly on the 5 steps to overcome your fear of retirement. 1, create a comprehensive financial and retirement plan. 2, redefine what retirement means. Start challenging yourself on things that just cost money as compared to things that really bring you joy. What I want you to think about is you have programmed your mind to think about what an amazing retirement looks like or what an amazing life looks like. And for many people, it includes everything that costs money. Why? Because we're bombarded with like 100,000 messages a day. And most of those are like, you're not enough. But if you had this piece of jewelry, you would be. If you had this hairdo, you would be. If you had this great body, you would be. If you had this, you would be. And it's all things out there, all things about spending money. I want you to get integrated with your inner self. I want you to get focused in on what brings you joy and how you feel great. Going and buying a new ring, yeah, sure, you like it, you enjoy it when you wear it. But the reality of it is that give yourself a week, a month, or 6 months, you're going to go right back to that same emotion that your brain has felt for the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. So just be aware of that. Don't get caught up in that. All right, you want to build a new daily rhythm. Look at the routine you want to create and then stick to it. Now, that includes your diet. It includes your exercise, everything. We were up at our country club last week with some friends. They're both very thin and in good shape. And the one said that she's made such a focus on really making her health a priority in retirement. That's the key, my friends. Invest in your health. You will never be disappointed. And health is wealth. You can't have an amazing life with great health and no money. I mean, it's very difficult, if not impossible. And you can't have a great life with a lot of money and no health. Now people say, oh, if I had money, things would be great. Things would be better, I would say, my opinion. I've been with money and without, and I would say living with money is a heck of a lot better than without. That said, you really got to have your health and your relationships, and then talk about it. If you need help, get it. If you don't have a plan, hire a fiduciary, hire a certified financial planner. If you need mental support, hire a therapist or a qualified coach. You're going to be so glad you did. I really encourage you to really consider redefining your retirement and taking the time and energy to create a life you love. You're going to be so glad you did. I'm Annette Bao. All international copyrights are reserved. Thanks so much for joining me. I'll look forward to seeing you next week. Bye for now.
If you love the content of this podcast, please follow and subscribe to our channel so you get notified of episodes, and also give us a 5-star review and share a comment. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on taking another step to create a financially free life you love. If you're not sure about your financial future or that it's in order, or you are ready to stop worrying about money, or possibly the fear of becoming a bag lady, ending up broke in retirement, or you simply are ready to know your financial house is in order so that you can have a bright financial future, please go to themillionaireinsider.com/ NSF. And that doesn't stand for non-sufficient funds. It stands for Next Step Finance. It's the next best step of what you need to do so you can avoid an NSF notice in your future. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. The number of women who were not broke or poor while working or married is staggering. The entire mission of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast is to ensure you have the information for you, your family, your friends, anyone who's willing to listen to it and apply it so that you can create a financially free life you love. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. Until our next episode, take one action that will help you create a financially free life you love. I'm Annette Ba'u, your host. All international copyrights are reserved. Bye for now.